Yeah, so my name is Charles Kajoloweka. I am a human rights activist based in Malawi, and I'm the founder and the current executive director for Youth and Society. Youth and Society is a governance and human rights watchdog, and our work basically is to promote and defend human rights and democratic governance in Malawi, particularly in the principal interest of young people and marginalized groups. We founded Youth and Society in 2012, straight from the university when I graduated, where I also served as the president of the student union. So I really wanted to continue to contribute to the governance space in Malawi. As an organization, we largely are now focusing on 4 core areas. One of the core programs is human rights and civil society strengthening. One of the core programs under this program is where we build capacities of young people, upcoming human rights defenders, because we strongly believe that civil society must continue to raise the voices, to nurture the voices. We must invest in deliberate efforts to build a new generation of human rights defenders. And the second program that we are running, apart from the human rights and social strengthening, is the anti-corruption and the rule of law. And under this program, we do a lot of public interest litigation, particularly confronting high-level public officials, the business. They're challenging the powers that be that indulge themselves in corruption. And we have taken not less than 8 high-profile cases to court, challenging various public officials, including the former president. The third program is the gender and social inclusion. Looking at the gender deficits that are in the space, and also ensuring that we protect the young women, and we also grow the women movement as an integral part of the broader civil society. And the last program is wealth creation and economic justice. At Youth and Society, we strongly believe that while we continue to make gains in the civil and political space, it is very, very central that we invest more again in the social economic rights. And for too long, as civil society, we have we've been so much biased towards the civil and political rights. Of course, for obvious reasons that we continue to see authoritarian regimes emerging, and we would want to safeguard the civil and political rights. But more so important is to pay attention to the socio-economic challenges that our people are facing. We're talking about unemployment and the life opportunities that young people, for example, are looking for. We're talking about poverty. We're talking about the widening inequality gap that we see on the African continent. So there is need to balance the civil, political, and then the socio-economic rights, because all these are fundamental rights. But the right to development is a fundamental right, which we must ensure that is given adequate attention. When I was growing up, I always protested against injustices, and I've never wanted to see people being oppressed, right away from community. So before even I went into mainstream activism, I had participated in a number of community interventions, questioning authorities, and also pushing back against injustice at community level. One case was when government wanted to start a project in our community without consultations with the community, and it came in to start some extractive activities, particularly the forestry extractive activities, when the community had been taking care of that forestry for a long time, and the government just comes in without engaging the communities. So we started bargaining on behalf of the community and questioning why we were not engaged as a community. And I was very young at that point, but I started already mobilizing. So we had to put up a resistance of, we were children at that time, to challenge, this approach by government. And then, participated in a number of community interventions. But my entry into mainstream activism was when I went into university. And then I started, I was introduced into the student politics. In my second year, I already became a leader of opposition in the student union movement, and the following year, I was elected president of the student union. And during my time in the university, it was a period when we had a dangerous authoritarian regime in Malawi. You remember around 2011, July 2011 particularly, where the regime, killed unarmed protesters in the streets for protesting against bad governance, the corruption, the closing of civic and political spaces, and basically the failure of the government to run the economy. And we really came to a standstill, and civil society started mobilizing, and through the citizen, agency and push back against the regime. The regime turned against the people and killed, over 21 people in the streets. And I remember being in the streets, and that really, triggered my anger a lot, and also it also, transformed my attitude towards government. And it also, reinforced my conviction that we needed a stronger, citizen voice. We needed more organized voices, particularly among young people. What I saw, which was so painful, was that despite this rogue regime we had at that point, there was no strong youth movement in the country. Yes, we were in big numbers, but we were, demobilized. We are not really a movement, as it were. My question was, where are the youth? Yes, they are there in terms of the quantities, in terms of the numbers, but they were not available in terms of the citizen agency, all right, to push back against, authoritarian regime at that point, and they reclaim, their will from this government, and refunnel that kind of agency in terms of demanding, a political change in the country. And so that period, and so I was in the student union. We were hit hard as well, because the universities could not even provide the most needed support to the students, because there was no funding coming from government. So there was total chaos. So it was not just the citizens outside there. We were hit hard as citizens, as students. And as a student union leader, I needed to step in and begin to engage. So I remember having a number of engagements with government, ministries, and we had a lot of challenges. We had protests in the streets by students. And we as a student union convinced ourselves that we were part and parcel of the society, and we needed to push back against this rogue regime. And so we participated in a number of civic activities. We joined the mainstream civil society in terms of organizing, in terms of engagements, demanding change. So that was really my entry into student into mainstream civil society. And what again was striking at that point was that even the student union movement itself, the leadership, was not very much, willing to push back. So a few of us who were really willing to take the risk again were, we also faced some resistance from government, threats of being expelled from the universities. You get these political threats coming from the political party, cadres and so forth. But I think that was really a nursery for me to go into mainstream activism, and I don't regret that we really played our role in 2011. And as fate, would have it, when the former president died in office, and then there was a vice president taking over the leadership, we declared that we will continue to provide oversight, on the new administration. And since that time, we have been, playing our role in the civil society. So when I left college in 2012, I wanted really to, to continue to play my small role in civil society. So I talked to my colleagues, look at the future, what, the future would hold for us as youth, activists, but as student union leaders who had just graduated, moving into the society. And since that time, I've never regretted working in the civil society, and I've never worked anywhere else apart from civil society. Yeah, it's quite interesting area of our work, that you really have to look at the challenges at a personal level, as well as the institutional level, and then the environment level, a broader civil society. So at personal level, you're always confronted with you know, a pushback at times from the families, particularly when you seem to be in the front lines of engagement. Families will, will always get worried, and they'll express their, their cares of what's going on. There are moments when you are reminded, but you know what, you have the whole world. It's not only civil society. Why are you putting your life, at risk? At times, you also get the pushback when the the risks go beyond just you as an individual. It is also spread, across the family, and then you begin to get, some jittering from other family members. You're putting the lives of everybody at risk. So you also get that pressure, but by and by the family members, begin to accept and understand. Usually, in conservative societies, particularly we're coming from a 30-year dictatorship that really had established itself, that there were no alternative voices, and every citizen needed to listen to the authorities. And our parents grew up in that environment where you listen to the authorities, even when authorities are wrong, even when authorities are destroying the future, even the current, economy, the politics. Parents will say, what, these are authorities. Authorities are never wrong. Now, when they see you challenging authorities, it is something that is, unprecedented to them, something that is uncultured. They've never seen it before. So they'll always, come back and say, but you know what? We must always make sure that the authorities, are respected, and you must make sure that you don't, confront the authorities. So you always get that pushback, not just from immediate families, but even society as a whole has not accepted yet that we can confront, elected authorities, and call them out, even in a robust ways that even the authorities should be able to pay attention to. And apart from that, there are also security risks. Several times there have been attempts to physically harm me. There are moments we have been warned, by authorities, being summoned, and really, being cautioned. At times, you just get threats from unknown people just to scare you, and destabilize you. There were moments where my office was been broken, was broken into, and all they went away with was like the gadgets, like laptop, and so the computer at that point, in the office. Yeah, so you get those threats. At the same time, at personal level, you also lose friends. You live a solitary life, an isolated life, but if you don't have close comrades who are, in the struggle, people who are not part and parcel of the movement largely do not want to associate with you. So you have very few, friends. Your circle is at times, very small because of the work that you do, particularly when you engage in frontline work. It's very, very difficult for people to associate with you, because by associating with you, they think they're associating with your risk. All right, and then they do not want to be contaminated. So So you have all those kind of challenges when you engage in frontline work. There have also been moments where you also get discriminated against. So when there are engagements, for example, policy engagements, at times government will choose those that it thinks they will listen to it. Obviously, by being a frontline advocate, they eliminate you. You are a troublemaker. You will resist some of the policy directions that the government would want to take. So at times there are meetings that take place, very crucial, consultation processes, but you're eliminated because of the work that you do, because they know the moment you're in the space, you are going to engage robustly. You have nothing really, to you have nobody to massage. You have the people and the country at heart, and that you not compromise. All right. So you also face those kind of exclusions. At times, the exclusions also mean being denied opportunities for growth. This could be learning opportunities. So you are eliminated from all these opportunities that are the disposal of government, or where government is facilitating because of the work that you do. You also, have to be a little bit careful in terms of your personal life, even just your social life, because the state has interest in you. So there is a lot of self-censorship in terms of which places to go to and so forth. And of course, it's important. But at times, when you have a government paying much more attention to you, you also begin to lose some of the social benefits that you could have been, enjoying as a natural being. All right. Um, some of the threats you face as well at institutional level is again the discrimination. So some organizations, including colleagues in the NGO sector, wouldn't want to invite you in some spaces because they think that you okay. At times you have NGOs that work with government. So the moment they invite you, it's like they're inviting someone who's going to contaminate the space. So there are very critical moments, policy debates, legislative engagements, where you think this is where you can make a contribution, but you're going to be invited because in their language they want to take a soft approach to engaging government, and because they have already branded you that you are a frontline and you will always robustly engage, they will leave you out as an organization. You also lose out in terms at times funding opportunities. Um, there are moments where you have partners as well who think that maybe we need those NGOs, actors that are very close to government. All right, and so because of the nature of the work that you do, where you speak truth to power, at times again you stand at a risk of losing opportunities. So resource opportunities again at institutional level, become a challenge at that level. Um, of course, again, there is the moments when as an institution as well, you'd want to engage government. And the way, for example, you want to lobby with government, and the government would not be very much willing to engage, to create space for constructive engagement, for whatever reason. But what we also suspect is that because of the nature of the work that we do, we confront them, for example, in terms of corruption, call them out on the violations of the rule of law, the impunity that we see in Gaza. So we robustly engage them constantly. So the time when there are opportunities that you see that you can directly engage government, most of the times they'll close that space. All right. So at times in terms of policy window opportunities that you would have influenced something are lost because simply government has declared that they don't want to listen to you. my conviction is that as HRDs in the region, we have made strides. I think we must appreciate that those that came before us, that they were able to build the human rights defenders movement. So there is solidarity, among HRDs, and we have also seen, the emerging women rights defenders movement, which also is becoming a force, on its own. And we need to strengthen the solidarity. We need to strengthen these movements because we are stronger together. As they say, a united, we bargain, divided we beg. So we do not want to beg. We want to stand on a position of bargaining, and we can only, effectively bargain when we stand in solidarity. So we really need to stand together. Number two is that we must always remember that we are hunted and haunted by because of the work that we do. We attract, state interest, including the toxic one, because of the credibility that we have. So we must sustain the credibility. That's the most important thing. We cannot eliminate state interference because they know how influential, the civic space is. So they'll always throw spanners, but we must build the resilience. And one of the most important interventions is to ensure that we stand on the principles of integrity, because those principles are the ones that are going to give us that credit and the credibility that no matter the resistance and the pushback from the state, we will always be on the right side of history. I would also want to encourage the youth movement that we need new brooms in the civic space as well. As the vanguards are leaving the space, we must always make sure that we constantly supply the civic space with the new and innovative guys, the new and young, people to come into the space. And we must invest in deliberate programs that will always nurture and supply the civic space with young people. We need to expand the space for women human rights defenders. We know our movement has, for a long time, has been male-centric. Very few, frontline women rights defenders. So we need to do more. We have started doing that. As I've indicated, now there's a movement of women human rights defenders. We need to grow and sustain that. We equally need to embark on the youth human rights defenders movement building, so that at every level we have these streams of HRDs that he should be able to supply, and water the civic space. The last aspect is that we must always remember that we do this as a service to the people of this continent, and therefore our people must always, be our primary, focus. We know that there are challenges in the civic space that we face. As individual HRDs, I know the threats that we face at personal level, family level, institutional level, and even just the overall environment. As we speak today, the number of regimes, in the region here, in the SADC region, for example, on the African continent, that are enacting, legislations that are aimed at closing the civic space, ensuring that they undermine the ability of civil society, from discharging its mandate. So there'll be all sorts of, toxic, elements from the state and other actors. But we must always be reminded that we are here for a service, and our service is to the people of this continent.